Hi. So I'm Alivia. Obviously, you guys are on my page, you know me. But I saw a talk yesterday that sort of altered my perspective, and I just want to share my findings with you guys. So, if you didn't know, I'm in New York this summer. Yes, at the New York Times. It's really cool. I've met a lot of really cool people. Right now, I'm in my NYU dorm. Um, just thinking about winding down and prepping for the week. But I wanted to talk about privilege specifically because I never saw myself as a person with privilege. Right? I am definitely a person who has worked for what I have, the opportunities that I have. I mean, I I feel like before the talk yesterday I didn't have the vocabulary to explain why affirmative action programs are important specifically for African American students, but I feel like after the talk I do. And I want to break this down a little bit more. A lot of the spaces that I've entered, I know that people look at me and think, the target minority, or maybe she got the position just because she's African American. But lo and behold, I spent a lot of time, as a pre med student, and you don't get into medical school just for being black. You don't get into nursing school that way either. For a while, I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I literally did all the things and got A's in microbiology, physiology, anatomy, chemistry, biology. I mean, like literal A's. I mean, it's a lot of studying to do that. And that's why I got into Samuel Merritt. I mean, if you were there, ask about me literally. Like, I'm the person who was in the lab. I didn't get in because I'm black, right? Anyway, this summer, here I am in this NYU housing, and people told me New York was expensive, but I feel like last summer I didn't have a very good idea of what it really means to move to a big city away from your family and pay for things, specifically because I live in the Bay Area. I was living at home. Even when I've moved out of homes, I've lived with boyfriends, so still didn't really pay for the cost of things. I didn't understand what that meant, but here, very different. I've literally funded my own trip, paid my money to live here, and it is really expensive. This dorm room, which I'm also sharing with two other people, I paid $6,000 just for the summer. So that literally means this one room for the summer for three people cost 18 grand. That's ridiculous. Just for summer housing, and I I spent my last Facebook check to pay for this, by myself. My parents didn't help, nothing. I spent my money. But my other roommates, they're calling themselves interns, I suppose, but they're volunteers in fashion or something. They work 3 hours a day, and their parents have funded the entire trip, the entire summer experience, right? They just charge their parents credit cards to eat food and do all these things, and it's just fascinating to me because it really made me have a different perspective about privilege. I felt so upset when I had to pay NYU money for housing because I've never actually paid for rent or my own things. Even at Facebook they give you free food and stuff. I buy my own Chipotle now. It's different, right? And what if I didn't have that job before and I wanted to come to New York, and how would I have done that if I didn't have the money to do it myself? I don't rely on my parents to pay for anything. I funded my own way through college. I pay for my car, I pay for my food, I pay for everything, right? So I don't ask my parents for anything. It's me. And so it's interesting to think about all of the other students who might be really, really talented and really, really smart and have opportunities to travel to a big city because they're smart enough, but without programs to actually first even help them be discovered, right? Like, I mean, I think like maybe my networking skills have gotten better now, but I mean, realistically, would the New York Times have ever found me? Like, I'm just some, public school student from California. Like, why am I so special, right? Like, or like, if I didn't have the funds to get myself here, right? Pay for a plane ticket, pay for housing, pay for food. Like, who's gonna like pay my way, right? If I was just like in school, you don't make any money as a student. Like, who's gonna fund that? I really think that people are turning down opportunities, and companies are they're missing out on like premium talent simply because people don't have the resources to pay. That's unfortunate. That's sad, but that's reality. And I think that this has all made me think a lot about the time that I've had to explore topics. For instance, like I did start in tech very, very recently. But another thing, like I've been able to not have to worry about, housing or transportation or food because my internships allow me enough money to be able to, pay for my food and my car. Really, I don't pay for housing because I live at home, but like, um, I'm able to like sit on YouTube and go through courses and go through the coursework and read the material and really understand and send emails and ask questions and follow up questions and, collaborate with students really all over the globe. Like, I mean, shout out to Amina, right? Like every time I have a question, I can just email a Princeton grad and be like, hey, what does this mean? Can you ask some of your network to help me figure this out? And she's like, yeah, but like, I'm just like some public school student in like California. Like, what do I know, right? But it really made me think about privilege in a different way. And I really thought I was a person who did not have privilege. And yet here I sit in this super expensive NYU dorm, and I know like how many students actually can't get here, and like that's unfair, right? Um, I really think that companies should start to reevaluate not just like how you're finding talent, but like how you're supporting it as well, because not everybody has a check from like a mega corp to fund their trip to come work with you. And if you're not providing relocation benefits to people, specifically to minority candidates, I mean, I don't know how you'll ever expect to get the top talent. And also the privilege that you have just from having like free time and YouTube, that's something a lot of people don't have. If you have work study and you have to like have a full-time job to support yourself, to pay for your food and your housing and your shelter, you don't have that free time to spend studying. So of course you're not going to get the same grades. Of course you're not going to be able to volunteer. You might not even have the time to do internships, right? And those things should also be taken into account when you're thinking about the promise of a student and really the ability of someone to learn and to overcome obstacles and to be a member of a team. Because like the reality is a lot of people who are working in the workforce now are like full human people, right? They have entire lives that they're going through, and the job is like one portion of that. It's not all encompassing of the entire person. I'll definitely share a link to the video that I saw, but I did want to share that because I knew students last summer who came to California and they didn't have any relocation, and they were spending a very, very large portion of their intern income on housing and food, right? Because the company also did not provide free meals. And I know what that's like now this summer. And it sucks. Like it's really expensive here. So I just wanted to point that out and share my personal reflection on privilege. That's all.